Ever since God, by his word, said, let's make people in our image and our likeness, God has been preparing and desiring relationship with us in love. Well, I hope that same sense of preparing be in your heart as we move through Advent, a time of waiting to celebrate that love given, born unto us in the little town of Bethlehem. St. Paul says that love is always kind and patient, not insisting on its own way. It's a more excellent way. So let's live out that more excellent way in Advent, a time when we in worship and in our activities and our relationships should be preparing. Now, for me, personally, that means retuning of my patience. Waiting is not my strong suit. Reflecting is rumored to be good, but I sometimes want to rush to the end. Yet think of our patient God. Think about that. Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Abraham and Sarah, Moses and Aaron, prophets galore. Why? Because at the center of God is love. At the center of God is loving the world, and so he gave. For you, for me. Preparing has to be more than patience. Patience is merely and only waiting, of which I'm in short supply. Preparing is changing your heart, tuning up the instrument of that which makes you, you. Preparing is seeking how God in Christ and the Spirit is with you. If you only let patience be your guide, it makes you the center. Preparing the way of the Lord is to step aside and see the world differently. Why else would God still ask Adam and Eve in the beginning, where are you? I mean, he knew, but he kept hoping their hearts would change. Well, Advent is our chance to once again choose to live differently. Had this thought come to mind, how many of you like to do home projects? You know, painting a wall, plastering a ceiling, cutting wood molding, fixing broken pipes or replacing whatevers. You think you are prepared. But then comes the fourth trip to Home Depot. Or a show I like to watch on HGTV says, cut twice and cuss once. Sometimes preparing takes effort, and it's not always easy. Thankfully, in Christ, we have a Messiah that judges differently than we do. Isaiah says, his delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And righteousness shall be the belt around his waist, and faithfulness the belt around his loins. Yeah, that's about the end times, but we know we're also part of that. Yes, the wolf will lie with the lamb, but cannot we take up now judging more than with our eyes, deciding more than with our ears, deciding with equity for the meek and the poor? Isn't that part of preparing for the Lord? The way described in Isaiah is to be our way. Now, you did know that before we were called Christians, this motley group that walked with Jesus were called followers of the way. And Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And he also said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments, and I'll ask the Father, and he'll give you another advocate to be with you forever. An advocate is one that stands with you. An advocate is one that guides you as you prepare your life in Christ. So, John the Baptist was hollering in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his path straight. What way you walk is for you to decide. What way you walk is how you prepare to make room in your heart. Paul Sipka reminded me of a favorite song that many of you know, Mary, Did You Know? The very first part says, Mary, did you know that your baby boy would someday walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you delivered will soon deliver you. I don't think she did. She simply said, here I am, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word. So I want to tell you that I think preparing is not always knowing. Only when Mary and Joseph brought Jesus to be presented at the temple did they begin to know. Because the prophet Simeon said, "My eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the presence of all people." So Mary got a glimpse of what preparing in life might mean. Later on in Isaiah 40, it says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He doesn't faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might he increases strength. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary, shall walk and not faint." Patience may run out. And there might be days when you feel worn through because of your pace. And there will be days when, "How long, O Lord?" might be said. But preparing is different. It helps keep things in perspective. It keeps us from running after our schedules. Preparing is knowing that our running and walking is bolstered by God's Spirit, and that we shouldn't let our calendars run our days. Christmas Carol came about a midnight clear, you all know it, written in 1849. Stanza 2 says this: "Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats o'er all the weary world." Well, if we let the world take hold, it becomes patience and weariness, and not preparing and wondering what's to come. In each of us, there is this struggle between weariness and being strong in the Lord. Made me smile. The American poet Carl Sandburg is credited with this introspective thought. He said, "There's an eagle in me that wants to soar, and there is a hippopotamus in me that wants to wallow in the mud." Isaiah reminds us that God never feels, how did Bilbo Baggins say it? All thin, sort of stretched, like butter that has been scraped over too much bread. God gives power to the faint and increases the strength of those with no strength left. The difference? Well, if you rely only on patience, it will wear out. If you rely on God, who comes to you and asks you to prepare, your heart and soul will soar. So, blessed Advent as we prepare